The Warriors head coach Steve Kerr just broke the news that he plans on starting James Wiseman at center and that there's a good chance it will be in our regular season opener versus the Brooklyn Nets. I was excited for this matchup before, but now that Wiseman is officially confirmed as the starting center for the team and likely to start on Tuesday, I absolutely cannot wait to see the Warriors line up for the first time with their long-coveted rim protector and true-to-size big man. If Steve Kerr has the confidence that Wiseman could possibly start in a game versus the Brooklyn Nets, the league just might have a very, very big problem. A big 7-foot 1-inch problem. Alright, let's get to that intro. Hey, what's happening everyone? This is Swish, and today I just found out some news that Steve Kerr intends to start James Wiseman at the center position for the Golden State Warriors, likely starting him at center in 2 days. This is big. This is very big. This is big for the Warriors, and like I said, a big problem for the rest of the league. No rookie outside the top 3 has been projected to make a big impact on the team to which they've been drafted this year. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Charlotte Hornets are expected to miss the playoffs this season, and the rookies they selected with the first and third picks respectively were unable to even start in the preseason games. James Wiseman was drafted to a team that is a potential title contender, and the head coach has just made it clear his rookie will be starting on that team. Let me be clear, the Warriors are not a lottery team. There are very skilled players at every starting position, and a title run is very real. To earn a starting spot on a team such as the Warriors, a contending team, shows the level of confidence the coach has in James's ability to not only produce and perform, but his ability to do so at a very high level, especially considering the veteran options available. While other teams might not think much of Chris as a starting center, Chris has done well for the Warriors, closing out last year and during the preseason games this year. Let's not forget, he was also a first-round pick at number 8. While Kevon Looney had a slow start this year, his tenure with the Warriors may have bought him enough equity to get the start versus a very experienced team, especially in a year where each game is actually more meaningful than your typical regular season game, if not just the fact that there are less games being played this year, increasing the value of each game, then additionally for the fact that a win against the Brooklyn Nets, a team favored to come out of the East, would send a league-wide message and reduces the pressure on our guys. Though they should view every opponent as a threat to beat them, beating this particular opponent gives them more breathing room and allows them to more comfortably play their game at their best without the ensuing media beatdown declaring the Warriors dynasty over. In his report to the media, this is what Steve Kerr said of James Wiseman. His conditioning looked really good. I was very impressed given that he had only the one 12-minute scrimmage the other day. This was a full team scrimmage. We went 2 full quarters. He played with the starters so I could get a good look at him with Steph and Andrew and Kelly. He had a really good day. He just looked like he picked a lot of things up in the last few days. He's progressing nicely. I'm very excited about James, and he should be ready to go Tuesday night. Now, when Kerr says a player should be ready, you have to expect that player to be ready. Steve Kerr is very cautious and typically gives answers regarding players' availability that often make you wonder if that player is still even on the team. not today. Coach Kerr did not mince words. Now this quote doesn't say that he will start Tuesday, but we'll get to that. James Wiseman will play his first game on Tuesday versus the Brooklyn Nets. So now we ask, how are we certain he will be starting? The first clue is in the prior quote that I just mentioned. He had James practicing with the starters. This means that the guys James knows how to run the floor with are the guys who are starting. He had one 12-minute scrimmage prior, and today he had 2 full quarters playing with the starters. I don't know if there's a bigger hint that James will be starting in his first outing. The next clue came in Steve Kerr's next quote, which stated, "James is going to be our starting center before too long. It might happen Tuesday, but clearly he is our long-term starting center, and when we feel he's ready for that, then we will put him out there. Then it's a matter of minutes and how long he can play." For me as a coach and my staff, it's let's give him the experience of seeing the different pictures that are going to be in front of him. Kerr also says his plan is to play Wiseman in bursts. This is to allow Wiseman to be placed in different situations one by one and commit these situations to memory, almost like a play-by-play. As he gets more comfortable on the floor, he will be able to remember each situation and learn how to instinctually navigate through these individual frames until he can get the full picture. That is one aspect. The other is the number of minutes Wiseman will be allowed to play. We can't forget that Wiseman did not have any summer league nor even preseason games. The idea is to allow him to push himself at game speed, and while he's building up his conditioning, the game will slow down for him as well. His size alone gives him an enormous advantage to players in other positions, or smaller players that play the center position. He is a fast, strong, and agile player with a very high motor. His physical presence alone will be a benefit to the Warriors. The number one priority is to get the game to slow down enough where he has enough time to know what he needs to do in each situation that arises. Let's absorb all this information and analyze what we now know. The first thing, which most of you likely already know, was that James Wiseman is our center of the future. There had been talks of trades earlier on before the draft that the Warriors would be trying to make some type of package for Giannis. Besides that ship having been sailed, Bob Myers called up John Horst, the Bucks general manager, and said, quote, "We good, bruh, we good," prompting Giannis to sign an extension with the Bucks. Okay, maybe I just made that last part up. But essentially, any uncertainty of the Warriors keeping their number 2 draft pick can now safely be discarded in the closest dumpster. And no, I'm not talking about our neighbors in LA. We now know that Steve Kerr believes Wiseman can start in the game versus Brooklyn. Playing the Brooklyn Nets won't be easy, as the Nets will be looking to start DeAndre Jordan, a veteran big who was named to the All-Star team for the first time a little less than 4 years ago. They also have Jarrett Allen, whom I mentioned in my other video had shown significant improvement while playing in the bubble last season. You could argue the fact that Steve Kerr only said that Wiseman might start in the Brooklyn game to oversell his hand in this game of poker, but what good does that do if Wiseman will be playing anyway? It isn't like he's out with an injury. He is a full go. Whether the Nets start with Jordan or Allen, they should still technically have the advantage over any of the Warriors centers, being that both Looney and Chris are smaller than both Allen and Jordan, and Wiseman hasn't even played his first NBA game. My point is, if Kerr is confident that Wiseman can start, be prepared to see him at tip-off on Tuesday. The next thing we know is that Steve Kerr wants to place James Wiseman in different situations to help him learn the game as quickly as possible. I take this to mean everything from tip-off to closing games to everything in between. Given the guys we have at the center position, their shortcomings, and their performance in preseason games, There isn't much of a choice aside from starting Wiseman and ramping up his minutes as soon as possible to get him to where we need him to be for the playoffs. I hate to say this, but this is the main reason why I have the Lakers seated above the Warriors. If we don't have a strong presence at center, we will find ourselves at the wrong end of a conga line to the basket. It is currently our biggest weakness, and our best bet is to have Wiseman on the floor early on in the season, being coached by Draymond on the fly on the court. Also, if the main goal is for Wiseman to play with the starters, then most of his minutes likely will be with the starters. You don't learn to play with the starters by being on the bench when they're on the floor. I wouldn't be surprised, however, if Kerr starts an underperforming Looney or an undersized Chris. I expect Chris to get the nod if Wiseman doesn't start. However, those two guys are perfect for backup minutes and should build as much chemistry with the second units as possible going forward. Other news that also broke today was the waiving of Juan Toscano Anderson, which didn't really come as a surprise to anyone. Toscano Anderson had a really rough start in the preseason and wasn't really producing. He also had a rough time finishing up last year, and the Warriors didn't see much of an improvement this year, which led to the waiving. And now Michael Mulder is officially a part of the 15-man roster, and likely will be seeing minutes on Tuesday, as per Steve Kerr as well. I like Mulder ever since his debut last year. He's a knockdown shooter and can be a real spark off the bench. He might be our slightly undersized Duncan Robinson, a real catch and shoot guy that just needs a good facilitator and the ability to cut and get himself open. He could learn a lot from Steph Curry. Seeing he was named after Klay Thompson's dad, maybe the two could make some splashes if they end up sharing minutes on the floor together. I'm very interested in seeing the two on the floor despite the fact that we'll be undersized. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you do, give it a like, comment, and please hit that subscribe button. I enjoy reading your comments and love the commentary I see so far. You guys are the best. We just blew through 1,000 subscribers and headed for 2,000. Cheers, guys. Until next time. Swish.
I block so hard, sweaty get served. Call me Lonzo Ball, bitches get swerved.
Usually I don't get down with these girls, but tonight it's on my mind, so I might eat these words. I just wanna